This is a Cinderella story come true. It was 1944, and World War II was raging. For morale purposes, the nation had decided not to curtail athletics. That year, the University of Utah basketball team began the season without a home court. The Army had appropriated the field house for the war effort. Coach Vadell Peterson and his assistant Sherman Pete Couch lined up the Deseret Gym where the team could play. Iron Jawed Peterson was a tough, smart coach, one of the first to promote the one-handed foul pitch. His 1944 Utes, mostly locals, were just a bunch of skinny, talented, hustling kids. Their average age was 18 and a half. They had to keep their fouls to a minimum because the team lacked depth. They were an exciting team to watch, playing a tenacious, aggressive defense and running like crazy down the floor to score spectacular baskets. Utah's best player was only a freshman, a 6'3.5" collection of bones, a big heart, a fine touch, and a hank of blonde hair. His name, Arnie Farron. The Utes ended the regular season with a very respectable 17-3 record, but turned down the NCAA invitation to appear in the Western Regional at Kansas City because expenses could not be guaranteed. Instead, the team accepted an NIT invitation to complete the tournament roster in New York. The combination of a 2,300-mile train trip, the excitement of the big city, and the Kentucky Wildcats was too much for the young players. The Utes went down in defeat in their first outing, but destiny had a finer fate in store. The players were sitting around, heartbroken, when NCAA officials called and asked them to substitute for the Arkansas team that had to bow out of the tournament because of an automobile accident. Even though the Utah team had seen nothing of New York, the players packed their bags for Kansas City and spent the next 3 days on a train whose schedule was preempted by wartime troop trains. Most observers felt that the kids from Utah would probably make an appearance, fill the tourney slot, lose, and go home. Even so, they would become the first team in history to participate in both the NIT and NCAA tournaments in one season. Here's one nostalgic photo of Destiny's stepchildren. Wat Masaka, one of the guards in the backcourt. Ray Kingston, guard. Arnie Farron, forward. Fred Lewis, guard. Jim Nance, guard. Bob Lewis, forward. Coach Vadell Peterson, Fred Sheffield, a multi-talented center who also became the NCAA's high jump champion, Dick Schmune, forward, and Herb Wilkinson, a backcourt whiz. To everyone's surprise, the Utes handily defeated Missouri 45-35 in their first game. Farron dazzled the crowd with his speed, aggressiveness, and his jumping and dribbling prowess. Iowa State was a more formidable challenger, but the Utes eventually took the lead and the victory 40-31. The triumph gave Utah the Western Region Championship and sent them to New York again to face the Eastern Regional champion Dartmouth. The showdown was for the NCAA crown in Madison Square Garden before a crowd of 15,000 screaming fans. The setting was a far cry from the Deseret Gym in Salt Lake City. The rest, as they say, is history. Farron, the freshman blonde bomber, scored 22 points during that championship game and was voted the most valuable player for the tournament. Using a daring gambling defense that Coach Peterson called the pickup, the Utes took Dartmouth into overtime. Then they put their destiny in the hands of Wilkinson, who arched a one-hander toward the basket with only 3 seconds left on the clock. The ball hung on the rim, then nestled in the net for a dramatic, unlikely, heart-throbbing victory. 2 days later, Utah beat NIT winner St. John's in a Red Cross benefit game that earned $35,000 for the war effort. So tonight, with a special induction into its Hall of Fame '89, the Crimson Club honors the fabled Utah men's basketball team of 45 years ago. The late coach, Vadell Peterson, and Coach Pete Couch. Arnie Farron, former Ute athletic director. Wat Masaka, engineer. Dick Schmune, teacher. Herb Wilkinson, dentist. Fred Lewis, businessman. Bob Lewis, businessman. Fred Sheffield, physician. Jim Nance, physician. Bill Costello, geologist. Mas Tetsuno, businessman. Ray Kingston, a general in the National